All right. Welcome to the second official episode of Last Take. This was a big week in sports. Specifically, we got the World Series to talk about. We got a lot in football. Nick, this was one of the craziest weeks in football. Wouldn't you agree?
Yeah, this was absolutely the best week of the NFL I thought that we've seen so far. We already talked about Thursday Night Football. We put out a video with Austin the other day, so we're not going to talk about that. I assume we were going to be starting off our show with either the World Series, which has Game 6 tomorrow night, or the witching hour in the NFL, and we'll get to both of those in a little bit. But I have to start off with last night's Sunday Night Football game and asking you how you feel, because for those of you who don't know, Rob is a huge Seahawks fan, so I just got to get his thoughts on the game last night before we talk about anything else.
So, I mean, it's pretty obvious. Russell Wilson is one of the greatest players ever. He's awesome. He made his mistakes, but I mean, they're never in any game without him. So I mean, he threw 3 interceptions, but I mean, who the hell cares? I mean, he's the best player on the field. He's the best player in the NFL, I think. So you can't even. I don't put anything on him. Lockett was great. Metcalf made one of the plays of the year, I think. I mean, it pretty much had the Seahawks been a normal team, they would have won the game because of that. And the defense was bad. I mean, it's been the story the whole year. But I do kind of like that people are starting to catch on to the craziness that is the Seattle Seahawks. I mean, in my opinion, I think they're the reason I'm losing my hair. I wrote a blog last night. I started losing my hair probably like 2013, give or take. I mean, when was Russ drafted? 2012. Started being good in 2013. I legitimately think that Pete Carroll is either addicted to just the adrenaline of close games, or he genuinely believes as a coaching theory that playing these close games is like good for the team when it comes playoff time, because there's no way every single game of theirs is this close on purpose. I mean, by accident. I think he does it 100% on purpose. Mm-hmm. I'm not sure the stat, and I mean, I would doubt that a team plays anywhere near as many one-possession games as the Seahawks do. I mean, some teams get like blown out. Some teams get like, or they blow teams out. The Seahawks is just always they let either me as a fan just grapple on hope, or they let the other team just hang on for as long as they possibly can, to the point where it's just like, okay, we literally have to put it in Russell Wilson's hands. And sometimes, like you saw last night, that's not going to work, So, I mean, I don't know. This game in particular had me feeling like super confident, at like different points. Like I didn't even watch the beginning when it came back from halftime, because I was like, oh, they got this. Like I felt pretty good. Their offense was looking great. Their defense was playing good enough against Kyler. And then there was multiple times where I was like totally defeated. I'm like, this team stinks. We're never going to win another game. So I think all in all, it was pretty much a normal Seahawks game.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, to be honest with you, I didn't even realize until maybe a year or two ago, you kind of started explaining to us how every game they play is like kind of ridiculous. And like, I know you had that one tweet, I think this was last year, where it was like, Seahawks quarters 1 through 3, we need to establish the run. And it's like fourth quarter, it's like, fuck, like Russ, like help us, like save us. And like, but like now, like this year, like I know the whole let Russ cook thing has been going on, and like he's been airing it out a little bit more. I mean, like you said, Tyler Lockett had an amazing game. I had actually texted one of our group chats saying, I think Russell Wilson's the best quarterback I've ever seen. Not even 30 seconds later, he unleashes that deep bomb to Lockett. So I was like, wow, like he's great. But at the same time, it reaches its limit where how much can he do on his own? I know he had the 3 picks last night, but it's just a constant. And I know he's got Metcalf and Lockett, so he does at least have a couple of receivers where they can go make a play for him. But the line looks terrible. I think it just gets hidden a little bit by the fact that what Russ can do with his feet. But the line looks terrible, and the defense looks even worse than that.
And Nick, this is the best line that the Seahawks have ever had in the Russell Wilson area.
That's insane.
Like, isn't that like, I think it was Collinsworth or Michael said it last night. They're like, they noted that this is the best their offensive line has ever looked, and you just said it looked horrible. So like, think about that. Like I don't know if that's the reason why their games are always just ridiculous to watch, but I mean, that's got to play a part in it. And I honestly hate prevent defense. It makes absolutely no sense to me. Every time at the end of a game, like a team just lets the team that's driving, the team that's down, just walk like 40 yards, no problem, and they put him in field goal range. Just like, okay, go for it. And it's like you're relying on winning a game based on whether or not this professional kicker is going to hit this 45-yarder or not. Guess what? He's probably going to hit it. I mean, I know they missed a one in overtime, but that's just because the Seahawks are cursed and they want to stress me out. But, like, most of the time, like, they're going to hit a 45-yarder. And I don't get why – it's not just the Seahawks. It's every NFL team. They just let teams waltz down the field and go hit a 45-yarder because it's going to happen every time. Prevent defense is useless.
Yeah, I mean, Collinsworth was kind of saying last night, he was saying how, without Jamal Adams, who I hate, by the way, even though I'm a Giants fan, I fucking hate Jamal Adams. When he had the tweet of him a couple weeks ago with his helmet on, watching the game from home, like, locked in, #Prez. Like, dude, you're the opposite of locked in. You're at home watching your team on TV. You couldn't be further from locked in. Just because you put your helmet on doesn't make you locked in. But without him, obviously they didn't bring Clowney back. He kind of said there's nobody to rely on that defense. There's no one where you could say, like, hey, we need a stop here. We need a big play here. Like the scene from Family Guy where Stewie's auditioning as a child actor. Like, you do something exceptional. Like, they don't have that guy on defense. Like, Russ is absolutely that guy on offense. He's, like, probably the best guy ever at that. But they don't have anyone on defense. And also just one other quick note on Collinsworth. He must have some kind of space fetish or something with the moon going on, because at any chance, anytime Russ throws a pass mildly deep and high, it's about the moon ball. He talks about the moon ball for 15 minutes straight. It's like nothing I've ever seen before. Collinsworth cannot get off of that topic. I don't know what it is. I don't know if he wants to be an astronaut as a kid, but that guy will not stop talking about Russell Wilson's moon ball.
Maybe he doesn't believe in the space landing or the moon landing.
Possibly.
Maybe he's a conspiracy theorist guy.
Yeah, I mean, I love conspiracy theories.
Yeah, but I mean, going back to your point about the Seahawks not having a guy on defense, I mean, I totally agree. I mean, Bobby Wagner and KJ Wright are elite linebackers, but I mean, how many times can you rely on a linebacker to make a play? Like to make like a really big stop, like that's got to kind of rely on the line, or you got to rely on the secondary. And our top cornerback, Shaquille Griffin, he went out with a concussion halfway through the game. So it's like, I mean, we were playing with backup cornerbacks and backup safeties, and we got basically no names on the defensive line. So I mean, something's got to be done. I'm hoping that they make some sort of trade for November 3rd, because I mean, I don't think that they can beat an elite team without any sort of pass rush. So
I don't know. Call me crazy. I don't know. I still think they have a great shot to come out of the NFC. I think I'll never bet against Russell Wilson. I think the guy is that good. I think last night was an off game for him, and they still put up 34 points.
Yeah, so. But the thing is, a lot of these games where they're close, it comes down to Russ making a play. Like 2 weeks ago when they won against the Vikings, it came down to literally Russell Wilson on 4th down, throwing up sort of a 50-50 ball, because I mean it was while it was kind of a duck on the goal line to DK Metcalf against the Vikings. Like, I mean, if he drops that ball, they're 4-2. So I don't know. I don't trust it. I think that to be more consistent and to actually feel like they have a good chance, I need them to do something at the trade deadline. But Russ is magic, so you never bet against him.
Yep. So moving on to some of the other games from yesterday, I thought that the 1:00 witching hour was easily the best I've watched on Red Zone this year. There was a handful of games. You had the Steelers narrowly escaping the Titans comeback with Steve Gostkowski missing that field goal. They would have overcame a 24-7 deficit to send it into overtime. So that game was crazy. Then you had the Browns game. The Bengals scored with a little more than a minute left. Baker Mayfield, credit to him, getting the Browns to 5-2. No Odell Beckham leading a touchdown drive to win the game. People are asking whether or not the Browns are actually better without Odell.
I guess we'll find out, right?
It's mean. Yeah, we're going to find out right now. That's mean. But hopefully he recovers quickly. But
yeah, I actually had a 5-team parlay going, and I was at a bar watching the game, and it was literally going like from one to the other to the other to the other. My head was like spinning in a circle, just being like, oh, that one good. Okay, that one won. Now that one won. Now that one. Because it was literally all going down to like the final play. And I mean, I won't toot my own horn, but the parlay hit. The can't lose parlay, it won.
Mine lost because of the Seahawks. So
I'm so sorry.
I don't care. It's fine. But
the can't lose parlay lost. What a shot.
It still can't lose though.
Nick, why do you call it the witching hour? I've literally never heard that before.
I don't know where it comes from. That's just the phrase. I don't know why. Like Scott Hansen literally says it on Red Zone. Like we've now entered the witching hour. He says that at like 3 p.m. I don't know what the. I don't know. I should probably look that up. I use the phrase enough that I should probably know what it means. I don't know what it means, but basically it's like the fourth quarter of all the 1 o'clock games, like crunch time of all the 1 o'clock games, where it's like they're all going to go one way or the other. I'll look it up after. I'll fact check it.
Right.
But
The worst game of that whole 1 o'clock area was the Cowboys. I mean, that was just disgusting. I don't even know the name of the third quarterback that came in because I don't want to. It was like he was, one, really bad, and two, the Cowboys offense as a whole. I mean, we knew their defense was already bad, but the offense as a whole now was just really bad. Like Zeke can't get going. He had 12 carries. Like they weren't even down like that much. They were down like 15-3 at one point. Like he just wasn't getting the ball. So I mean, I don't know what's up with them. I think that they're going to potentially be the worst team in the NFC East by the end of the year. Like,
yeah, the Cowboys are done. If they were done without Dak, they're even more done without Dalton. Their quarterback goes to JMU. Like I've been to JMU. It's a nice school. I wouldn't want my quarterback coming from there. I saw this tweet earlier, and I told you it. I said this has to go in the Cowboys defensive coordinator Mike Nolan just stopped his conference call with reporters because he had Tabasco sauce on his finger and accidentally wiped his eye. Which, if that's not a metaphor for the NFC East as a whole this season, I don't know what is.
I mean, they are just literally on a tear of bad things happening to them.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe Jerry Jones sold his soul or something, but it is just an embarrassing season for them. I mean, I don't think they would ever rebuild, but I mean, if there was ever a time to do it, I think it's now.
No, I don't know. Jerry Jones is going to keep pumping money into this team until he dies, whenever that is. But, I mean, it's going to be strictly the offense. If this year, I wouldn't surprise me if Jerry Jones goes out and gets 4 quarterbacks for next season because he's going to be like, well, I already went through 2 this year, so it shows going forward. He's going to go out and sign. I don't even know. He'll probably bring Terry Collins out of retirement or something, try and convince Eli to come back. Tony Romo out of the booth, maybe. I wouldn't be surprised if out of the 53-man roster, at least 12 are quarterbacks next year.
He's going to find another, like, 10 receivers, too. You could bring back Ocho Cinco, TJ Huzmanzada.
He's got calls after Terrell Owens for sure.
Steve Smith Sr. and Jr.
Yep. Mm-hmm. For sure. But only other game I want to touch on for the 1 o'clock game. So, how about the Falcons blowing yet another late game? And it's like the win probability was like 98% or something like that, which like if you're the Falcons, your win probability should never be higher than like 4. Like no matter
fourth quarter.
The game could be over, your win probability shouldn't be as high as 98. You got to make sure.
How about it happening because Gurley accidentally scored a touchdown?
Yeah, so they were talking about this on PMT actually, and they were like speculating whether or not it was in his contract, like that he gets incentives for touchdowns. And basically the language in it, they looked it up, was like, yeah, like if he reaches a certain amount of touchdowns, like the incentives start to kick in for bonuses, because they're like, he's not the kind of like guy that's like stupid. Like he literally a couple years ago with the Rams, he had the easy touchdown and he didn't run it in. Like he stopped before the end zone and screwed over like a bunch of bettors that had the Rams to cover. So like, he knows that it's the smart play to not go in. So I wouldn't shock me if he was like, all right, we suck anyway. Who cares? Like, I'm going to get my money, and just like made it look like he was trying to stop himself, but he knew what he was doing the whole time.
Great acting performance because he got the ball over the goal line by about this much. So, I mean, smart play by him, but smart play for the contract. I mean, that's just sad. I mean, only the Falcons could lose a game that way, to the point where where scoring a touchdown is actually bad for you.
Yeah, I mean, Dan Quinn got fired a couple weeks ago, but he was somewhere smiling yesterday.
Yeah, that's goes for Dan Quinn.
Yep.
You want to move on to baseball? The Dodgers up 3-2. They can put it away tomorrow night. Do you know who's starting the Game 6 for them?
Game 6 is Gonsolin against Snell.
I mean, I would love to see a Game 7. I mean, this series has been crazy enough. Game 4 alone was like the end was just absolutely wild. So I would love to see a Game 7. I think you'd really see some some history there. But I mean, the end of Game 4 was just everything went that could have gone wrong for the Dodgers did. Kenley Jansen, horrible 1-2 pitch right down the middle.
Yeah.
Was Mookie in center or Chris Taylor?
So I thought it was. I think the announcers, who I'm pretty sure my buddy on Twitter said it was. Of course, Smoltz gets it wrong. That guy's the fucking worst. But yeah, I believe Mookie was in right, and it was Chris Taylor, I think, actually in center, because Bellinger DH that game, which ended up ironically becoming a major storyline.
Yeah. So I mean, Chris Taylor throws it in, makes not a horrible throw, but not a great one. First baseman Muncy makes a bad throw to the catcher. He drops it. Rosarina falls, comes in. I mean, everything that could have went wrong on that play for the Dodgers did. But I mean, they made up for a Kershaw game back, game 5, and really, turned it on for them. He's been great this whole postseason, honestly, this whole year. And I think he's definitely starting to shed the playoff Kershaw reputation. And I'm happy to see that because I think he's a legend.
If you look back at Clayton Kershaw's postseason track record, yeah, he definitely has some stinkers in there, but he's got a lot of great starts too, especially in 2017. The one stinker was Game 5. He got rocked. I didn't even remember. He came in and threw 4 shutout innings in relief. So, to call the guy a postseason choker, he's not a choker. He's just been inconsistent. So, I'm really keeping my fingers crossed that he can hold on and win this series, just because if they win a World Series that he goes 2-0 in, the narrative is dead. Just like we saw with A-Rod, as bad as he was in the season with the Yankees before and after 2009, 2009 makes him forever cool. No one really comes at him for being a bad postseason hitter. It's just the steroids that people get on.
I think the way people look at Kershaw, obviously they don't do it because it's night and day. But I mean, you can kind of compare it to the way LeBron has, kind of had his postseason career. He's had a lot of different finals appearances. Not all of them have been great, but it's because he's had so many different opportunities to, to be in that spotlight. And Kershaw is kind of the same way. Where, he's been in the postseason for a lot of his career. The Dodgers have more often than not been really, really good, and Kershaw has been the anchor of that rotation. So, I mean, you can point to a lot of his stinkers, but, I mean, more often than not, he's been successive. It's just, when you're really bad on a big stage, people don't forget. So I'm glad that people are starting to see him for the goodish postseason pitcher that he is and the legend that he should be.
Going back to the end of Game 4 real quick, just because there was a lot to unpack with that play. Perspective on this, actually, since you actually pitched your whole life, pitched at the collegiate level. A lot of people were coming after Jansen for not backing up home plate there. What was your perspective? Did you think that – because for me, I didn't think that even if he did back it up, you're talking about hoping he's in the right spot, it kicks right to him, and then you get a clean transfer exchange and tag. Rosarena was basically already home at that point. He had tripped, and he was more than halfway to home plate. So I personally, should he have been backing up home plate? Yeah, probably, if you really want to get into the Little League, hustle point of, perspective from the play. But I didn't think that it would have made a difference in actually getting a Rosarena out.
No, would it have made a difference? No, but he needs to be there. In my opinion, it's the first thing, especially when you transition from high school to college. It's the first thing that they tell you is that, look, if you're not backing up your the base, whether it's most of the time it's third or home because you're not really backing up second, that's more on singles. That doesn't really happen as often, and their throwaways aren't as crucial. But if you're not backing up third or home, they're going to pull you off the field, and that's the reason. I mean, sure, Jansen would have pitched 2 nights in a row, but I mean, I think that's a big reason why Blade Treinen closed out the game last night, because it's BS that Jansen wasn't covering home plate. It really is all it is it's laziness. And you saw after he gave up the hit, and again, I'll reiterate, that was a really bad 1-2 pitch. That pitch was right down the middle. You saw the frustration in his body language. He threw his hands up. He was standing on the mound for 2 minutes. And it's a bad play, and it's more speaking to his character, and how he reacts to adversity and all that stuff, as opposed to would it have saved the game? No, it wouldn't have saved the game. Rosarena would have been safe, but you got to be there.
Right, for sure. But I don't know. Like you said, I would love to see the Rays win tomorrow night. Get a Game 7, and then who knows, if we get a Game 7, we could potentially see Kershaw come in relief again with really his entire legacy on the line. So I shouldn't say entire legacy, entire postseason legacy, but
Well, his hero narrative would be just like A-Rod's 09. His hero narrative would be this 2020 World Series, just the same way Bumgarner did.
Yep,
So I would personally love to see that. I'm a big Kershaw guy, so I'm rooting
no,
for Game 7 and just a chance to see him again.
for sure. Only other noteworthy thing I want to touch on, Big Ten is back. I'm personally not the biggest college football fan. I'm more of a college basketball, NFL guy, but it really did feel good having them back. I obviously watched the Rutgers game. For them to get a win to go to 1-0, Greg Schiano is back, baby. I couldn't believe it. The highlight of my 4 years at Rutgers watching them play football was when they lost at home to Michigan State and Chris Laviano spiked the ball on 4th down to end the game. That was the highlight of my college career watching them. So for them to go to 1-0 is pretty cool. Penn State losing on the same saw Todd Gurley the next day where they scored, and then Indiana ends up driving down the field, scoring, getting the 2-point conversion. So they're 0-1, and then Ohio State looks like they're just going to kick the shit out of everybody again. So good to have the Big Ten back for sure.
Yeah, personally, I'm not too big of a college football guy because I feel like if my life took up Saturday and Sunday, I would get nothing done because I'm addicted to the NFL. But it's good to have it back because I know a lot of people love it.
For sure.
So there's next segment, trade proposals, who says no. We went to Twitter to evaluate some of the internet's best trade proposals. So let's check them out. Billy from Staten Island proposes the Giants trade Evan Ingram for 3 $100 ExxonMobil gift cards. I mean, gas prices are pretty good these days. I wouldn't do that, but Evan Ingram is not an asset anymore.
I'd trade him. I don't know if whoever's giving you the gift cards is going to do that, but I would take that from a Giants perspective.
Fair.
Sure. All right, so this one is coming in from Steve from Boston. He angrily wonders why the Red Sox ever traded Mookie, and he's willing to send them a gift card for 2 lobster rolls and all 3 of his children, to the Dodgers for Mookie back.
Wow. I think that's a pretty fair deal. I mean, I don't know how much you can really put a price on your children, but I guess that price is Mookie Betts.
Yeah, that's the thing. How does it work out cap space wise? Because they say your children are priceless, but does that mean that's going to put the Dodgers in a worse cap position than if they had Mookie?
Well, you got to think if Mookie steals enough bases, then they'll pretty much get their price back in tacos.
Yeah, that is true. I don't know. I think
I
think both sides do that. Yeah, for sure. I think
that's a win-win.
I agree. I would agree.
This one is from @YankeesFan27 with an avatar of Brian Cashman with devil horns photoshopped. He suggests the Yankees reset the luxury tax by trading Judge, Stanton, and Aaron Boone to the Sun for 3 separate piles of shit. If I'm the Yankees, I definitely try to get some cash considerations for that. Really hammer home that contract aspect. But I mean, I think you got to think about the piles of shit playoffs experience. Do they really have what it takes to get it done?
It's a weird take. Usually people on Yankees Twitter have very rational takes. They're really patient with their players. People really love Aaron Boone, and Yankee fans just in general don't really care about winning the World Series as long as everyone has fun. So I'm just kind of shocked that they even proposed this one. So I don't really know.
Yeah. If I'm the Yankees, I consider it. I think you got to look at, if those piles of shit can win in New York, but I think you think about it.
Yeah, as long as everyone's having fun out there, that's what matters.
That's all that matters, yeah.
Yep. All right, so this one is from Evan in Homedale. So he's a Jet fan. He's looking to trade Sam Darnold. He's saying the Colts could potentially be a suitor, and he would be looking to get back Andrew Luck despite his retirement a year ago. So what do you think about that one?
I mean, do you think Adam Gase, that Peyton Manning, Andrew Luck connection, did Andrew Luck want to be Peyton Manning? I mean, I think there's a thought there. Does Andrew Luck come back because he knows Adam Gase is the offensive genius?
My biggest question here is I think you run the risk of, Andrew Luck doesn't have an iPhone. It's noted that he still has a flip phone. So if he's out of minutes for the month, even if you trade for him, you might not even be able to contact him for at least another couple of weeks. So I think there's a lot of risk on the Jets side. Maybe if if you buy him, get the Colts to throw in a weekend plan for Andrew Luck where you can get some minutes and get in contact with him, then yeah. Otherwise, I'd probably hold off on this one.
I heard he's also limited to 500 texts a month. So, I mean, that could be a huge deal breaker too. Maybe the Jets can pay for his plan. Or the Colts send it back.
There's never been any problems in the past with Jets quarterbacks texting. It's a Brett Favre dick pic.
It's a Brett Favre dick pic. Yeah. Marty from Queens, who works at Citibank, proposes the Mets try to trade for Lindor. In return, he'll knock off a few of his PTO days in 2021. I don't think that's going to be enough to get it done.
Marty, quit the shit. We all know you have too many PTO days, and they don't roll over. So
they don't roll over, Marty.
I see right through Marty.
It's classic Marty.
That son of a bitch. It is classic Marty, but you gotta love him for it.
Yeah, I mean you can't knock the hustle.
Mm-hmm. All right, the last one. Wayne in Chicago just cleaned out his attic. Says he's a big White Sox fan, and he found season 3 of George Lopez on VHS. He asks, what else would we need to add to this to get Mike Trout from the Angels?
Jeez, I think you're going to have to add season 7 of Friends in. Blu-ray.
Is season 7 the one where Chandler's in Tulsa, or is that before?
Yes.
I think it actually is.
No.
It's somewhere around there. Quote me on this, it's either 6, 7, or 8.
I know there's one season where Joey falls in love with Rachel, but I couldn't even begin to tell you where that is.
That was so fucking stupid. They turned Joey into a loser at the end of Friends for no reason.
Oh, yeah. I mean, they ran out of stuff to do.
He was just sticking his dick wherever, and it was great content. And then becomes this like sappy loser that falls in love with pregnant Rachel. It was stupid.
Classic. It's classic. And it's classic Wayne for thinking that you can just get George Lopez and get Mike Trout for him. So you're going to need to add in at least season 6, 7, or 8 of Friends, I think, in order to get that deal done.
Yeah, maybe a Netflix subscription, Wayne. Come on, get with the times, buddy.
Yeah. And a player to be named later.
Yeah. All right. If you guys have any trade proposals you want us to evaluate next week on the show, just send them in to either Rob or I on Twitter. Our Twitter handles are right below. And if you can't read, then I can't help you.
Oh, let's rip some fucking stocks.
Hi, Mark. I'm Robert, your financial advisor. It's nice to meet you.
Bob, good to meet you, brother.
Please get your feet off the desk.
Oh, my bad, man.
And call me Robert.
Yeah, whatever you say, Bob.
Did you walk all the way here without shoes?
Yeah, it was kind of a rough week for me last week. I had to give my shoes to my bookie.
Mark, what do you know about investing?
It's funny you ask, Bob. I'm actually on something of a hot streak with some of my investments. 10 out of my last 12 bets, even though 3 of the 10 were pushes. So I'm actually down like 350 in the last week, but it's seriously not that deep.
Like, this is the TD Ameritrade app?
Word. So, like, this is the book? Are you the bookie, dude?
Okay, let's get you set up with an account. Are we going to be transferring the money from your checkings or savings?
Could we just go ahead and grab that right out of my FanDuel account?
All right, so if you search on the TD Ameritrade app, you can find any stock in the world that you would want. Are there any you had in mind?
I was thinking I was probably going to rip Apple and Tesla.
Those are 2 very expensive stocks. What are you doing?
$200 cash.
That's simply not going to get you those stocks.
Even if I parlay the 2? Yo, what's the over-under on Microsoft? Does this thing have any odds boost? Dude, I bet you 2 shares of Penn, there's no chance you can guess my body count. I'm trying to take Elon Musk's over for tweets today. Yo, one of these just went up like $3. Can I cash out?
Well, no, the point is to wait and watch them appreciate over time.
What, how much time? Like an hour?
Well, some people keep their stocks for over 40 years.
This is the worst fucking bet I ever made.